The sky of Velmora burned red. Smoke curled between alien skyscrapers, and distant explosions echoed like thunder. Ships roared above, and the people who once filled the streets had vanished. Only silence remained, and war. A small figure moved, quickly through the back alleys, her steps light but urgent. She was wrapped in a long robe, hiding her scales from the smoke and wind. Her name was Azira, and she wasn't just any Velmoran. She was one of the last. Her species had been targeted by both the rebels and the invading Terran forces. Neither side trusted the Velmorans anymore. To most, they were monsters, creatures with reptilian features, claws, and glowing amber eyes. Azira had learned to hide, but tonight, the hiding would end. She ducked into a half-destroyed hotel building, moving toward the upper floors. She needed shelter, just for one night. She found a door still working, room 47, locked. But her claws were sharp. Click. The door creaked open. She stepped inside and froze. Someone was already there. A human. He sat near the window, dressed in partial armor, a rifle by his side. He didn't flinch when she entered. He just stared, eyes calm, mouth slightly parted like he was surprised but not afraid. "Whoa," he said softly. Azira hissed and stepped back. "Don't move." The human lifted both hands slowly. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "I thought this place was empty." "So did I," she growled. Her eyes scanned the room. One bed, one chair. No weapons pointed at her. Still, she didn't lower her guard. "I don't want trouble," the human said again. "I just needed a place to sleep." She didn't believe him. No human ever spoke gently to her kind. She tilted her head. "Why didn't you shoot me?" The man shrugged. "You're not aiming at me." "I could, but you didn't." A strange silence filled the room. The war outside sounded far away now. Closer was the sound of rain beginning to fall beyond the window. Azira stayed near the door, her hand near the blade on her hip. The human stood. "I'm Jace," he said. "Earth Scout, off duty." She didn't respond. He looked at her, not with fear, not even with disgust, just curiosity. "You're the first Velmoran I've seen up close." She narrowed her eyes. "And I suppose I'm ugly to you?" His answer surprised her. "No. You're different, but not ugly." Azira blinked. No one had ever said that to her. Not even her own kind, after her skin began to change in her teens, more orange than gold, more jagged than smooth. She had always believed she was a little too much of everything. Now this human was looking at her like he didn't mind. The silence returned. One bed, no heat, only two people who needed rest, and didn't know if tomorrow would be their last. Azira finally stepped forward. "I'll stay in the chair," she said. Jace shook his head. "Take the bed, I'll sleep on the floor." She narrowed her eyes. "Why would you do that for me?" He grinned, tired but honest. "Because you look like you've had worse days than me." For the first time, Azira relaxed. Just a little. She set her pack down and sat on the edge of the bed, claws folded, eyes watching him. Maybe humans weren't all the same. Maybe this one wasn't afraid of her at all, and that scared her more than anything else. Azira couldn't sleep. Not because the bed was uncomfortable, though it was. Not because of the broken window letting in cold wind, though that didn't help either, but because of the human Jace. He lay just a few feet away on the hard floor, wrapped in part of a torn blanket, using his pack as a pillow. His rifle was close, but not in his hands. His breathing was calm, steady, as if he truly believed she wouldn't attack him in his sleep. Fool, she thought. And yet, she hadn't hurt him. She could have. She had the chance. Instead, she had sat down, taken off her boots, and quietly claimed half of the bed. Hours passed. Outside, the rain turned to a light tapping against the shattered window. The city beyond the glass glowed faintly, blue towers and blinking lights hidden behind smoke. Jace stirred. "Still awake?" he asked, voice low. She didn't answer. "You keep watching me. I don't trust you." He rolled onto his side. "Fair, I don't trust anyone either." Silence. Then Azira asked, "Why didn't you kill me?" Jace sat up slightly. "Why would I? You weren't doing anything wrong." She narrowed her golden eyes. "I'm Velmoran." He gave a tired shrug. "So? You didn't shoot at me. That's what matters right now." His words confused her. Most humans looked at her and only saw a threat, a target, an animal. But this one treated her like a person, like she wasn't something broken or scary. Azira pulled her knees to her chest. "My people say humans have cold hearts." He gave a small smile. "Maybe, but not all of us." She stared at him. "Are you always this calm around strangers?" Jace looked up at the ceiling. "Only the ones who don't kill me." She snorted. Was that humor? Eventually she lay back, facing the wall. Her claws traced small lines into the blanket. She whispered, "You don't find me strange?" He hesitated, then said, "You're not strange, you're just not human." "That's the same thing." "No," he said. "It's not." His voice softened. "You're the first Velmoran I've ever seen up close. I've seen reports, images, but none of them showed your eyes." Azira blinked. "My eyes? They're not what I expected. They're alive. A little sad, maybe." She turned her head sharply. "You're looking too closely." "I know." Neither of them spoke for a while after that. Eventually, Jace lay back down. This time she didn't watch him as much. Something about his presence made her feel strangely safe, and that scared her more than any weapon could. Sometime near dawn, thunder cracked in the distance. Azira startled and sat up. Jace did the same, reaching for his rifle, instinct taking over. But the sound faded. "It's just thunder," he muttered. Azira hugged herself. Jace noticed. He stood and walked over slowly, not too close. "Are you cold?" "No." He removed his jacket and handed it to her anyway. She stared at it, then looked up at him. "You're giving this to me?" "You need it more." She took it slowly as if afraid it might bite. It smelled like dust, smoke, and something calm. She wrapped it around herself. "Thank you." In the soft blue morning light, something shifted. They were still enemies by blood, still strangers by law. But in that broken room, on a world torn by war, they had shared a bed, a space, a warmth neither of them expected. The war outside didn't stop, but inside that quiet room, time seemed to slow. Azira sat curled on the edge of the bed, wrapped in Jace's jacket. It was too big for her. The sleeves covered her hands. The warmth still clung to the fabric, mixed with the strange, earthy scent of human skin. Across the room, Jace was fast asleep again. His breathing was deep and even. His mouth hung open slightly, like a child dreaming without care. She couldn't look away. Why does he sleep so peacefully, she wondered. Does he really trust me that much? She moved closer, carefully. Her claws made no sound against the floor. Her people believed humans were violent, dangerous creatures with no emotions. But Jace was the opposite of what she'd been taught. He hadn't mocked her. He hadn't stared at her scales with disgust. He hadn't even flinched when she entered the room. She found herself kneeling beside him now, one clawed hand hovering near his armor, near his chest. She could feel the slow beat of his heart through the metal plate. Alive. Warm. Not like us, she thought, but not against us either. Suddenly Jace stirred. His eyes blinked open and met hers. For a second, neither moved. Then Azira quickly pulled her hand back and turned away. I was just... She started. "Watching me sleep?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. She folded her arms. "You breathe loud?" He smirked. So you snuck up to count my breaths? I was making sure you didn't stop. He laughed softly. Sounds like you care. She froze. That word. Care. She didn't know what to say. Jace sat up, rubbing his eyes. You don't have to explain. I get it. She looked at him sideways. Get what? Being alone. Being afraid to sleep near someone. Wondering if they'll still be there when you wake up. Azira lowered her head. He did understand. I lost my sister, she said quietly. Jace leaned forward. In the war? She nodded. She was younger. We were running. She stopped to help an elder climb into a shelter. She paused. They bombed it. Jace didn't say anything right away. He just looked at her like her pain mattered. She swallowed. I swore after that I'd never trust anyone again. He asked, but you didn't leave this room when you saw me. She stared at the floor. Maybe I'm tired of being alone. There it was. Honesty. No weapons, no armor, just words, soft ones, real. The sun had risen fully now, light stretching across the floor. Distant rumbles shook the ground, but inside, neither moved. Azira stood and returned to the bed. She sat beside Jace this time, not far, not close, but not afraid. He looked at her, then gently reached for her hand. She let him. Her scaled fingers curled around his gloved palm. It was strange, rough touching soft, alien touching human. But it felt right. Jace whispered, "You're not what I expected." She smiled, just barely. Neither are you. The sun poured golden light through the broken window. Jace and Azira sat side by side in the silence, their hands still loosely held. For a while, neither spoke. There was no need. The sounds of war outside seemed far away, almost unreal. In this room, time moved differently. Azira studied the way sunlight touched Jace's face, the way it softened the harsh lines around his jaw. He wasn't like the humans in the broadcasts, loud, cruel, mechanical. He was calm, honest, real. And he kept looking at her like she wasn't a threat. She pulled her hand back gently and looked down at her claws. They used to call me a monster, she said quietly. Jace turned toward her. Who did? My own kind. Other Velmorans. When I was young, I looked different. My scales were too orange, too jagged. My eyes glowed more than the others. They said I looked like a desert beast. Jace frowned. That's cruel, she chuckled bitterly. Cruel is survival where I'm from. She paused. Even the humans who saw me screamed. Jace stood and walked toward the window. I've seen monsters, he said. She raised an eyebrow. And? You're not one of them. He turned. To her fully now, in fact, or you're beautiful. The words hit her like a wave. She blinked. What? I mean it. She stepped back, arms crossing over her chest as if shielding herself. Don't mock me. I'm not. He walked closer, slowly, giving her space. You're strong. You're smart. And when you smiled, you looked like someone who hasn't had a reason to smile in a long time. Azira looked away. No one's ever called me that before. Then I'm glad I'm the first. Her voice was softer now. You're strange, Jace. He laughed. Humans are strange. She glanced at him, a small smirk curling at her lips. Still, you could have said I was terrifying. It would have been easier to believe. Jace shook, his head. That's not what I see. They stood there a moment, sunlight warming their skin, his pale and soft, hers rough and glowing like fire. Two enemies, two survivors, and something else neither dared to name. Suddenly, a transmission beeped. On Jace's communicator, he grabbed it, listening. A voice crackled. Scout Unit J-17 respond. Earth Command requesting evac coordinates. Reinforcements inbound within the hour. Jace hesitated. Azira tensed. Evac? He nodded. They're coming. A pickup team. Her smile vanished. Will they shoot me on sight? He met her eyes. I won't let them. She looked at the bed. The window. The room that had become a fragile piece. I thought we had more time. Jace stepped toward her again. We still have now. And without thinking, he reached for her face, his hand resting gently along her scaled cheek. She didn't pull away. Not this time. Instead, her hand touched his. No one watching would have believed it. A human, and a Velmoran, standing in a war-torn room, sharing warmth, sharing something unspoken. Azira stood by the broken window, her eyes fixed on the distant smoke, trails cutting across the sky. The sound of the transmission still echoed in her mind. Reinforcements inbound. It should have been good news, safety, a way out, but all she felt was fear. Jace was packing up supplies from the floor, his rifle, a med kit, a small data unit. His movements were quick, practiced, focused, but every few seconds he glanced at her. You haven't said anything, he said quietly. She didn't turn around. I don't belong with your people, she replied. When they see me, they'll think I'm a threat. They won't hurt you, Jace said. She looked at him now, her voice sharper. You don't know that. He paused. No, he said. But I know what I'll do if they try. Azira's heart ached. No one had ever said something like that for her. Still, she shook her head. I've survived alone this long. I can keep surviving. Jace stood, walked over slowly. You think this is still about survival? She opened her mouth to speak, but he took her hand. Gently, deliberately, and the words got stuck in her throat. I didn't just stay in this room because it was safe, he said. I stayed because you were here. Her golden eyes searched his face. You don't even know what I am. You're Azira. His thumb brushed across her knuckles. You're strong, brave, and you didn't leave me behind. Even though you could have. Outside, the sound of an approaching dropship grew louder. A low humming pulse echoed in the air, the kind that signaled arrival or danger. Azira pulled her hand away. If I go with you, I become a target. Jace stepped closer. You're already a target, but you don't have to be one alone. Suddenly the building shook. They both crouched low as dust fell from the ceiling. A blast hit nearby, too close, someone had spotted them. Jace grabbed his rifle and moved to the door. We need to get to the roof. That's where the evac will land. Azira stared at him. You'd fight your own kind for me? Jace met her gaze, firm and certain. I'd fight anyone who points a weapon at you. For a moment, she just stood there, torn. Her whole life. She had run, hid, survived, but no one had ever stood in front of her, not until now. She clenched her jaw, stepped forward, and grabbed his hand. Then we go together. They raced up the stairs. Every level creaked beneath them. Flames burned on one floor. Gunfire echoed in the distance, but neither stopped. At the top, the roof door burst open. Wind howled. Smoke filled the sky. Above them, a Terran evac dropship hovered, ramp lowering, lights flashing, but so did something else. Kana scouts, on the far side of the roof, with weapons raised. Azira froze. Jace stepped in front of her instantly. Don't move, he told the scouts. One scout sneered. You're protecting that thing. Jace raised his rifle. No, I'm protecting someone who saved me. Then the dropship's side turrets locked on the enemy. The Kana scattered, firing as they retreated. A bullet grazed Jace's arm. He didn't flinch. He just turned to Azira and pulled her toward the ramp. Run! They sprinted across the roof together, hand in hand. And when they reached the ship, she didn't let go. The dropship door slammed shut behind them. Engines roared as it lifted into the smoky sky, leaving the burning city below. Soldiers moved through the cabin, some sitting, some securing gear. others still watching the horizon for enemy fire. In the far corner, Azira stood motionless, her back against the cold metal wall, eyes scanning every face. Every soldier in that ship had turned to look at her the second she entered. Some stared with suspicion. Others with open disgust. She could hear them whispering, "Is that a Velmoran? What's she doing here? Why is she on our ship?" One of the officers pointed to an empty bench near the back. "Put her there, alone." Azira said, "Nothing." She just walked to the bench and sat, alone, until Jace moved. Without a word, he walked across the cabin and sat right beside her, not near her, beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. The room fell awkwardly quiet. Azira didn't look at him, but her voice trembled slightly. "You didn't have to." Jace kept his eyes forward. "Yeah, I did." The officer stepped forward. "Scout J-17, that's a direct violation. Non-human species with unapproved clearance." "She's with me," Jace said sharply, his tone suddenly hard. "She's not registered under Earth Command." Jace turned his head slowly, locking eyes with the man. "She saved my life." The officer opened his mouth, then closed it. The ship stayed silent after that. Azira exhaled, slowly. Her claws gripped the edge of the bench. "I'm not used to that," she whispered. "To what?" "Someone choosing to sit with me." Jace gave a small, tired smile. "Get used to it." The flight was long. Outside the ship, stars began to appear, dots of light in the vast, dark space. Inside, most soldiers eventually looked away. Some even fell asleep. But Jace stayed awake, quiet, beside her. His presence wasn't loud. It was steady. She leaned against him gently, testing the distance. He didn't flinch. He didn't pull away. She rested her head against his shoulder. "I never thought I'd leave that city alive," she whispered. "I never thought I'd share a mission with a Velmoran." She smiled. "Do you regret it?" "No," he said simply. "I'd do it again." Later, as the ship prepared for re-entry into orbit, the intercom crackled. "Command has been informed of your incoming guest, J-17. Expect questions." Jace replied, "Let them ask." Azira looked up at him. "They'll separate us." He glanced at her, eyes calm. "Not without a fight." She studied his face again, the same one she had once feared, the same one others said would never see her as anything more than a beast, and now he was her only safe place. The lights dimmed as the ship entered docking mode. Azira spoke, voice low. "If they try to lock me up..." Jace placed his hand over hers. "They won't. Not while I'm breathing." And for the first time since the war began, she believed someone. She believed him. The docking bay doors opened with a deep metallic hiss. Jace stepped out first, his body tense, eyes scanning the corridor. Behind him, Azira followed, hood pulled over her face, her claws tucked into the sleeves of her robe. Every step echoed and every face turned toward her. Humans, officers, guards, scientists, froze as she walked by. Some reached for weapons, others whispered. "A Velmoran? Here?" They passed through decontamination and into a glass corridor overlooking Earth Command's base. White halls, sharp lights, order and silence. To Azira, it felt like another world. Clean, cold, watching her. At the checkpoint ahead, 2 security bots moved to block their path. A human officer held up a tablet. "Non-registered alien entry must be processed in isolation." Jace stepped forward. "She's not a threat. She's not cleared. She'll be held until review." Jace didn't budge. "She saved my life." "Irrelevant," the officer snapped. "That doesn't change protocol." Azira slowly stepped forward and placed her hand gently on Jace's shoulder. "It's okay," she said. "I'm used to being locked away." Jace turned, his voice low and sharp. "You shouldn't be." But before the standoff could escalate, another voice echoed down the hall. "Let her through." Everyone turned. A tall woman in a deep blue uniform approached. Admiral Lorne, 1, of the highest-ranking officials in Earth Command. She came here by choice, the Admiral said. She's not our prisoner. The officer hesitated. But protocol hasn't caught up with reality, Lorne said firmly. Log her as an honored guest. The guard stepped back. Jace exhaled. Azira stared at the Admiral in disbelief. Why would you do that? Lorne looked at her. Because we've heard the reports, and because Jace doesn't fight for just anyone. Later in the officers' lounge, Jace sat with Azira at a quiet table near the window. Below, Earth cities stretched in the distance, green, glowing, alive. She watched the horizon in silence. I never thought I'd see it, she whispered. What? Peace. Jace tilted his head. Does it feel real? She looked down at her hands. No. Not yet. He reached across the table, gently touching her scaled fingers. You're not alone anymore. Her eyes met his. Do you really believe that? I believe you deserve more than fear, he said. You deserve to be seen. She swallowed, her voice shaking. You make me feel something I've never felt before. He leaned forward, his voice soft. What's that? She smiled, warm, soft, and human, like I belong. They sat together in silence. Two people from different worlds, enemies by birth, allies by war, and something more by choice. Outside the window, a child pointed at Azira as she walked by later that day. Her mother pulled the child close, fearful, but the child whispered, She looks like a dragon. Azira paused, then knelt and smiled at the child. A kind one, she said. The child giggled. Jace watched from behind, his heart full. In time, they would face challenges, judgment, fear, but they would face it together. Because for the first time in her life, when she wasn't a monster, she was his, and she was finally free to be something more, something beautiful, something loved.